Majority of my job is finding people who are not into what I'm into and converting them. If I'm not bringing new people in, I'm not doing my job. It's gone. Your shirt says it all. Mini trucking is not dead. Why is it not dead? My name is Ben Miller from Forney, Texas. Born in Dallas, lived in the DFW Metroplex my whole life. I've been in Forney about 8 years now. Started a business in January 2010. Relneb Inc. It's my name backwards. A lot of people see the name and wonder if I'm from another country, but if I don't make the connection, it's a pretty good running joke. But if I do tell them it's my name backwards, they usually laugh. I started the business because I knew that I was going to be doing car shows and I wanted to do it as a business. My biggest influence is probably my oldest brother, Bruce. He'd had a Mustang or two, and he started dating a girl who had a Mitsubishi Minitruck, and they started swapping vehicles to drive to high school and stuff. He liked driving her truck. She liked driving his car. He ended up getting into a mini truck club back then in the late 80s. He graduated in 89, so this is probably 87, 88. First vehicle was a 90 Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX. Turbo, all-wheel drive. Brought it home, and one of my brothers who's into modifying vehicles, racing and stuff, he decided he wanted to do a couple upgrades to it. So I only had that car 3 days because he screwed it up, essentially. It took me a few months, and I found another 90, it was a front-wheel drive, so it's a GST. So I drove that for a few years, got a lot of tickets, ended up blowing the motor in it because it turned the boost up too much. I had a friend that I went to middle school, high school with that had got a S-10 and lowered it, ended up bagging it, painting it and stuff like that. Before he painted it, it was lowered, had some big wheels on it and stuff. I kind of liked that truck, so I got one similar to it. So my first truck was a 98 S-10, 4-cylinder, manual, so no more tickets. So I got the lowering kit off of my friend's truck. His name's Cody King. Truck ended up getting painted, full interior, a bunch of other stuff. Was on the cover of Street Trucks magazine. A guy I met through him named Kevin York. He owns Creative Colors. Ended up being pretty good friends with him. So he kind of really at that point got me into trucks. I went to a couple shows with him and kind of got hooked. So my mom had a Suburban. It was somewhere in this range, 90, 91. Had a lot of kids. Came from a family of 7 kids, so we need a big vehicle. I am second to the youngest. Plenty of examples before me. I was at a friend's wedding, and a mutual friend of ours had mentioned that he had a nice Suburban that he was thinking about selling. So we went and looked at it, and he told me the price, and it was too cheap in my mind. So bought it, drove it home, lowered it, bought some wheels for it, and I think probably 500 miles later decided to bag it. Jeff Stroud at PCF in Longview, Texas. He did the suspension work on it, sheet metal work to get it to lay out. Pancaked the front crossmember, recessed the cups and the lower arms, raised the steering to match the crossmember, rebuilt the transmission crossmember and carry bearing crossmember to get them above the frame. Did pretty big frame notch in the back, and then triangulated 4-link with the bags on the lower bars. I guess people are in the truck scene, and really people that go to what we consider serious shows. If it's a local show, it usually gets passed on. It's not, for some reason we always think it's a local show, it's not serious. Even if our local show is something really big like Austin Heatwave. So my first show that really stands out in my mind was Lowdown Showdown. It's put on by a lower level club in Oklahoma. I don't know the exact year, somewhere around 2000. So I went there. It's kind of funny that my first show ends up at the way that I typically go to shows now and have for years. So I drove there in the morning, got there early, drove by myself, met a bunch of friends there, stayed there until about 3 in the morning and drove home. Typically how I do it now, I'll go to a show that's 8 hours away and go for 3 or 4 hours and drive home sometimes. Kind of got tired of trying to go to meets that kept getting canceled and stuff like that. You know, you get excited about something that's being promoted for a few months, and then day of or a couple days before, you hear that it's canceled. So I decided, I can do this. Like anything else, you see someone do something, and if you can reverse engineer it, you can do it. Did my first meet in, I think it was like February of 2001. Had pretty good attendance, just friendly. Everybody showed up, met at one spot, cruised to another spot, and had some activities and stuff. We went to Malibu Speed Zone in Dallas. So everybody went and rode go-karts, drove the dragsters, played video games, that kind of stuff. Pretty much from then it was, I thought, well, now I don't have to worry about someone else canceling their event because I can just do my own, right? If I'm doing it, I know it's not canceled because I don't ever cancel anything. So I had a friend named Gary Williams. Him and his wife Crystal were pretty good friends of mine. We had a lot of mutual friends. Gary had a business that he employed a lot of my friends. So his wife was diagnosed with cancer, and he wanted to do some sort of benefit for her. Did the first show with, I think we had about 3 months to do it. Unfortunately, Crystal passed away about 2 weeks before we did the first show. That kind of kick-started me, I guess, doing legit shows, I guess you should call them. That was in September of 2011. That was Habitat show. Did that one for 7 or 8 years. Stopped that one and decided I wanted to go to a different market. So that was in DFW where I live. I did that in this area, moved it a few times within different cities. A couple years ago, I decided I wanted to start a new show. That one's Outbreak. It's in Lufkin, Texas. So that's the continuation of my original show. I consider that the same show, just kind of changed names and changed locations. About 5 years ago, one of my friends named Jeff Wilson approached him about buying turkey drag from him. It's a show that I went to for 10 years, helped him out with for several years. His 10th year, the show was canceled. He just said he didn't have the means to do it. You go into something for so long and it just gets repetitive and beats you down. He ran into a lot of obstacles with it being in December time frame. It's a really hard show to do. Just if it rains or snows or anything like that, you don't reschedule, you just go through with it. So if you're planning on a certain number of vehicles showing up and a third of those show up, then you're out of pocket. So he did the show for 10 years, and on his 10th year, I'd contacted him after my Habitat show, and I said, hey, I haven't seen any promotion for your show. What's going on? This is September. He said, I can't do it. Got too much going on. My staff doesn't want to do it. So I asked him, what would it take for it to happen? He said, I don't know. So we went back and forth and ended up, he pretty much just needed somebody to do all the hard work before the show. He had a venue, he had a good person that he worked with, the Skyview Drive-In Theater. They were really easy to work with. He didn't want to spend the money. He didn't really, he kind of came out of pocket a lot that on his 9th year. I just told him I'll pay for everything up front. You just pay me back. I don't want any money in return. I want the show to happen. Did that on the 10th year, and the 11th year came around, and he said, yeah, I just can't do it again. So we made a deal, and I purchased it from him to take it over. So from the 11th year on, I've been the owner and promoter of Turkey Drag. So I had 2 shows, and they were both about 45 minutes apart. One Habitat show was in Forney, which is where I live, and Turkey Drag was, I think at that time, was about an hour and a half away. I think I did that 2 years before I started Outbreak and got rid of Habitat show. So Outbreak is exactly 6 months from Turkey Drag. So we have 2 shows, they're 6 months apart. It's really easy in our minds. We have a break. We have 2 breaks a year. We have a 6-month break, 2 times a year. It went from a fun activity with me and my family to now a fun activity with me and my family.
Just on the opposite side.
The only difference is that I have a business, but outside of that, it's still fun. I have a lot of friends that are promoters, and you kind of have to be friendly with them, just because you're going to so many of these shows, and you're watching every single detail that they do, and you're mimicking or altering or deciding that what they do is not working for you. That's how you learn. So, some of the promoters, we might bicker back and forth, and we might have, weeks that we don't talk or something like that. But in the end, you see each other and you high five, and you congratulate each other after every show. You wish each other good luck before every show. So the ones who don't do that don't last. The biggest thing I can say about promoting a show is If you can't do it yourself, then don't expect to do it. Nothing's guaranteed. The only thing you can rely on is yourself. Yeah, my wife has helped. She's been real supportive of everything I've done. My brother Bruce has been real supportive of everything I've done. He's been there with me from the first show without asking. If he knows I'm doing something, it's just I'm moving and he comes up beside me and he makes everything easier. The majority of my job is finding people who are not into what I'm into and converting them. If I'm not bringing new people in, I'm not doing my job. It's gone. Your shirt says it all. Mini trucking's not dead. Why is it not dead? People are constantly saying, come on now, get on the boat.
Right.
So before being interviewed for this, I was a follower of BuiltToCruise on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. If you enjoy this, do the same. Check it out. You can see all the content, up to date with everything they do.